ES Audio.
From the Evening Standard in London, I'm David Marsland, and this is The Leader Weekends. Every Saturday, we bring you a bonus episode of our business podcast, How to Be a CEO. This is a cut-down version, so hit the link in the show notes to hear the full thing, or search your podcast provider for How to Be a CEO. There are new episodes every Monday morning.
Not many tech entrepreneurs can say they took on the giants of the industry during the internet boom of the noughties, beat them, and are still succeeding today in 2023.
Yeah, when we started, our competitors were AOL, Yahoo, Microsoft, and Google. So it's the tech giants. And all of them, except Google, have shut down their blogging services.
But Matt Mullenweg, the new CEO of Tumblr and the co-founder of WordPress, can. From its launch in 2003, Matt transformed WordPress from a blogging site to an all-in-one website creation platform, which is now the backbone of around a third of all websites around the world. And he's not standing still. Following the creation of parent company Automatic, he decided to add Tumblr to their list of brands in 2019.
One fun thing about Tumblr is it's always pushed the limits and the edge of what people consider social media. All the other things that every other social network does, many of them were on Tumblr first.
In July this year, he and the team behind the social media platform laid down the gauntlet, sharing plans to redesign the sites, make it easier to use, ensure it had high-quality content, and grow its creator base. The announcement came just weeks after big changes at both Twitter and Reddit that left their users up in arms and looking for a new home on the web. Coincidence?
We've definitely had people come over, and we see waves or spikes.
I'm John Weeks from the Evening Standard, and this is How to Be a CEO. So, in a seemingly ever-changing online world, what can be learned from the past 12 months of activity that's shaken up the social media landscape?
One thing I've learned is just how sticky networks are. So, regardless of how you feel about how a social network is being run, or its privacy policies, or the person running it, or whatever it is, you want to be where your friends are. And so it's, not unusual that that's the thing that social networks make it the hardest to move around, is who you follow and your interests and your likes and everything like that. So I think if we're going to reach an age of true portability, where people can, try new social networks and move, we need more user control of their own data. So we need users to be able to take their likes, their follows, their interests, and bring it over wholesale to a new network, for any new network to have a chance.
Absolutely. And I'm guessing that's a bit of a tease into your plans for Tumblr going forwards. Have you got a sort of battle plan, as it were?
Yeah. First I'll say that also I've learned that running a social network is really, really hard. So you're not going to hear me criticizing Zuck or Elon or, anyone else, because it's software that sort of tries to capture human communication and interactions, at the scale of even just millions, or tens of millions, is as hard as being the mayor of a city or the, leader of a country. And, at certain scales, like some of these things Facebook with 3 billion daily active users, that's bigger than any country or society that's ever existed in humanity before. So there's going to be new problems. There's going to be problems every day, just by definition of having that many humans on the platform. And it's a learning process. So I do think that, so you asked about Tumblr's roadmap, a lot of it's providing a really great and safe environment. Okay? The software needs to be fast, performant, it needs to work well. It needs to do a good job at showing you things you want to see. So both the people you follow, but maybe also exposing you to new things that you don't know about yet, that you're going to love and like. It needs to be sustainable. So it needs to have a business model. When you think about it, back in the day, when you had a web host, you'd pay for the amount of storage you use and the amount of bandwidth you use and everything like that. But all these social networks give you unlimited storage, unlimited bandwidth, effectively. You can have as many views or users as you like. You don't get charged for that. And so there needs to be a business model that makes it sustainable to provide that service, because it's quite expensive to do and quite expensive to moderate. And then finally, one fun thing about Tumblr is it's always pushed the limits and the edge of what people consider social media. So far before anyone else supported images or videos or inline audio, like Tumblr supported all that. It supported more than 140 characters. It supported all the other things that every other social network does. Many of them were on Tumblr first. And so we're always thinking, like, what can we do next? I actually, when other people copy us, I'm like, well, cool. Like we had the when Twitter started introducing it's like following before you tap, like we had the exact same thing. They literally copied like our exact design and everything. I was like, all right, like, on to the next thing.
Let's take a break now. In part 2, Matt talks making Tumblr's algorithm open source, taking on ex-Twitter and Reddit users, and artificial intelligence. My next question was going to be about the sort of plan behind purchasing Tumblr back in 2019. Has that always been in your mind to make an open source social media platform from that point? Or has it been a bit of a process to sort of go, okay, this is what we've got here, let's work out what we're doing?
Absolutely, yeah. So, it's kind of funny because Tumblr used to be one of our best competitors. And they got purchased by Yahoo, which merged with AOL, which then got bought by Verizon. And just like those companies didn't necessarily give it whatever it needed to be, what it deserved to be. And so when we bought it, it was kind of in a death spiral. And it was an interesting switch because I had spent so much of my career switching people off Tumblr. All of a sudden I was like, all right, now we're going to run this thing. How do we make it amazing? And that's really been my focus. I've been CEO since February of last year. And how do we make this so amazing and really give the Tumblr community what they deserve and also give the world an alternative to these closed proprietary advertising driven social networks? Putting that on open source that's just our philosophy. If we do nothing else, we're always going to do lots of open source because it's not just, I think, more effective from like a user point of view, but I also just think it's the morally right thing to do. So, I only have so many productive years on this earth, while my body works, my brain works, and I really want to put every ounce of effort I have, every contribution I can give to the world towards something that moves civilization forward. And to me, that's open source and that philosophy. So what does it look like to be open source? Well, we've already started to do it. So for example, the algorithm that powers Tumblr, it's called, I think Stream Builder. That's on GitHub now. So you can see exactly how it works. And you could submit a patch to it or change it or, so that's kind of the first step towards, of course, eventually we want you to be able to like maybe even have your own customized version of the algorithm. So it's like, you have like the ones we could bring to you, but then if you wanted to build your own, you could do that.
So speaking of building paths, are you expecting to rake in some of the users who have become disgruntled, it's fair to say, with the likes of Twitter and Reddit based on the changes they've made this year?
Definitely. And we've definitely had people come over and we see like waves or spikes, but if I'm really honest, like less than you would think in the long term. So where it's been most successful is when entire communities move over. So like there was this really cool Lego community. That actually didn't come from Twitter or Reddit. It came from Instagram. And they got really frustrated with something Instagram was moderating or doing. I don't know what it was, but they were all like, all right, we're all going to switch over to Tumblr at the same time. So if you're part of a community and you're frustrated with one of these other networks, you really have to move over in a community way. So like get everyone coming over at the same time, like teach each other how it works, like follow each other, like kind of like bootstrap the community on the new thing. And then also give us feedback. When you move over, what do you miss from the old thing? And we can build it. We're iterating and improving on Tumblr every day. There's over 200 people working on it. So we're shipping a lot of stuff constantly.
It would be remiss of me not to ask you about the biggest buzzword of the last 2 or 3 years now, which is AI. Does that play a role? Will it play a role in Tumblr going forwards?
Yeah, it's a good question. So I am one of the people who will say that it's almost impossible to overstate how big AI will impact society. Now, how that's going to show up for Tumblr, I don't think will be like as direct or obvious as maybe it will some other places like ChatGPT or something, or your Siri or your assistant. But for Tumblr, like for example, I think it can make our developers a lot more productive. their code can be checked by AI or tested by AI or something like that. So that'll allow us to do a lot more with the same or fewer developers, which is really exciting. So maybe our pace of development can increase. I think AI can be a huge help in assisting on moderation. So if it could, help flag things before people even report them that someone can look at and review, or I think essentially what a stream is, or your feed, or the algorithm there is a form of AI. It's really machine learning. People use these terms interchangeably. But so if we can make the feed a lot better, and you can tweak it, and it can really learn the things you want to see and the friends you want to follow. So I think that's how it's going to show up. But it's not like there's going to be necessarily like you're not going to chat with Tumblr to do your homework. So that's not what Tumblr is going to be. I think it also could provide some really cool tools. So when you think of like the generative AI stuff, like whether it's DALL-E or Midjourney, or so much of what people do on Tumblr is expressing art and creativity. And there's some people who are resistant to this, but I'm actually hearing far more artists who are like, wow, this is another tool in my toolbox. It's not just like using it instead of doing your work. It's like helping with that first draft, or helping you come up with new ideas, or maybe like accelerating like a part of a workflow. So I see it like a new type of paintbrush in their palette, or new colors they can use or something. So they see it as like a new way to express their creativity.
That was Automatic and Tumblr CEO Matt Mullenweg. For more interviews, news and analysis, head to standard.co.uk/business or pick up the Evening Standard newspaper.